Democrats on a Saturday morning in real life, right? It's great to be here with all of you. It's our first in-person council meeting since 2020, and it's my first in-person council since I was elected as leader just 9 months ago. Yeah, this meeting comes, and I will say, this meeting comes at a challenging moment for us, for Ontario, for the world, and yes, for our party. So I'm going to dive right in. I've heard from and spoken with many of you in this room over the last few months, and I want to start by talking a bit about what I know is on many of your minds. People are watching in horror as innocent civilians in Palestine and Israel are caught in the middle of devastating violence. Here in Ontario, we are seeing a frightening surge in hate, in Islamophobia, anti-Palestinian racism, and anti-Semitism. We're seeing communities in distress and fear, afraid to be on the streets in hijab, afraid to go to their mosque, synagogue, or school. It's unacceptable. This pain isn't just happening thousands of miles away, it is happening right here, and it is experienced by those of us in this very room. And our provincial government, instead of calling for peace or an end to the violence, are determined to use this conflict to deflect from their own scandals. And in this process, they are stoking hate and they are inflaming division. Conservative MPPs in the House have used dangerous language that equates Muslims with terrorists. They've gone after students for standing up for human rights. Doug Ford and his Conservatives are going to continue to find ways to divide Ontarians and to pit us one against the other. And as New Democrats, our job is to bring people together, not tear them apart. To lead with compassion and to stand for peace. Our federal leader and our caucus have taken a very principled position that I'm really proud of, calling for an immediate ceasefire and the release of all hostages. Demanding unimpeded humanitarian access to Gaza, halting arms sales to Israel, and backing with illegal arms transfers, advocating for an end to the occupation of the Palestinian territories and working toward a two-state solution, calling for a ceasefire, calling out growing hate at home. The horrors of this war have mobilized thousands of people for an end to the siege and for lasting peace in the region. And people are demanding more from their political leaders. And I know you are demanding more from me too. I know many of you were deeply disappointed with the decision to part ways with MPP Sarah Jama, especially those that saw themselves represented in her. It's not a decision I made lightly or one that I ever wanted to have to make. I worked hard to support Sarah and find a way forward so she could remain as a part of the caucus and advance the issues that were important to her and also to her constituents. And ultimately we reached a point where after many times trust was deeply broken. We reached an impasse and we weren't able to continue working as a team. And over the last few weeks, I've heard from many of you. And I really do want to stop for a moment and really genuinely thank you for taking the time to honestly share your thoughts, your experiences, and as well your ideas for what we can do to move forward together. This shows the strength of our party, that we can have these conversations together, that we can debate and we can disagree sometimes, but we all care about the bigger project, our shared goal to change people's lives across this province. Conversations that I've had with many of you one-on-one, but I've also met with our provincial executive, our caucus, of course, many riding associations, labor leaders, and Palestinian, Arab, and Muslim community leaders as well to hear from them. I've heard from Black and other racialized members that Sarah's removal has sadly confirmed their experiences with anti-Black racism in their communities. in their workplaces, and yes, in our party. Black and racialized women in our party have borne the weight of this disproportionately. Seeing our historic Black caucus reduced once again sent a signal that progress was maybe being eroded. And in our discussions, you told me that language in our communications about Sarah's removal leaned into anti-Black stereotypes, and I really regret that, and I'm sorry. Some of you told me that you were caught off guard and were forced to explain something that you couldn't. While unintentional, that's unacceptable. These have not been easy conversations, but from these discussions, great ideas emerged. And I want to tell you about the changes you can expect to see coming out of this, changes that our caucus and I have discussed, and I'm going to go through those. We're going to work together with Sarah in her role as an independent, where we can, together, work to deliver results for people in Hamilton and beyond. We're going to continue to oppose her undemocratic censure so that the people of Hamilton Centre can have a voice again. And I'll tell you, we have looked into the options that are available. We have some of that expertise amongst us. And I actually have offered her that support to work with our team to try to figure out the best path forward through that censure. We're going to continue to call for a lasting ceasefire, and I'm committed to ensuring new and ongoing training for party officers, for elected members of our caucus and staff to recognize and dismantle institutional anti-Black racism. I'm going to work with the provincial director and party executive to bring forward new supports for racialized and equity-deserving candidates. And our party and members, including many in this room, did incredible work in developing the Anti-Racism Action Plan. The recommendations from the plan have to and will guide our work going forward. So, this work isn't just important. I see it as essential, and I'm committed to seeing it all through. Because we know that people are counting on us. They're counting on us because, like Saul and Chandra said, we have a government that has been in power for 5 long years, and they haven't done a single thing to make people's lives any easier. The most corrupt government in the history of Ontario, and I never hesitate to call them that. A premier who never hesitates to divide people, to pit them against each other, so he can drive forward his agenda. That's not our way. That is not the NDP way. Right? While Ontarians have been desperate for truly affordable housing solutions, the Conservatives waited years concocting a scheme to benefit their insider speculator friend. And now not only do we not have the affordable housing we need, but they are under a criminal investigation by the RCMP, and they are running scared. Opposition with our labor allies and farmers and all of you, environmentalists, First Nations, we stood up for Ontario on the Greenbelt, and we won. It's not the first time that we have consistently pushed the Ford Conservatives back on their heels, right? Forcing them to reverse some of their most harmful policy decisions, and we're not done yet. I always say, we're not going to wait till 2026 to defeat these guys. We're going to make sure we dismantle every one of their absolutely egregious policies between now and then. We have their backs against the wall, and we are taking on the worst of their agenda. They're expensive for-profit clinics, where it costs 4 times as much for surgeries than at a public hospital. They're disastrous. Bill 124. Can I just say, it is a miracle we have any healthcare or education workers working in this province at all right now after this government showed them such disrespect. Fighting for the prosperity of people in work. Shame on them. They're dirty MZOs. Their 95-year lease for a luxury spa at Ontario Place, and their government is in total disarray. They are so desperate to change the channel, and we're not going to let them. We're not going to let them because people are counting on us. The Liberals are ready to crown their new leader next week, and they're going to be looking to leap back into the spotlight. We've seen that movie before. They're watching, and they're hoping that we will fail. That's why it's so important that we are united, that we are focused, and that we are strong. Because we're not just waiting around, again, to defeat the Conservatives in 2026. We are getting things done. We are pushing them back and protecting important agricultural land and conservation areas. We are standing in solidarity with First Nations in the fight for clean water, housing, land rights. We are standing up for working people, for unions, and bringing legislation forward to finally ban scabs. And we're putting forward tangible proposals that are going to put money in people's pockets at a time when they really, really need it. And we already applauded this before, but I'm going to say it again, like making prescription contraceptives free. Thank you, Jenny Stevens. Free, so people can save money and fight climate change. Putting forward a solid plan and a new vision to get Ontario back in the business of building deeply affordable and non-market homes that people desperately need, starting right now. But look, in less than a week, we have an opportunity to make our official opposition NDP even stronger by electing the incredible Debbie Chapman in Kitchener Centre. Debbie is, for those of you who haven't met her, Debbie is a 5-year city councillor with a very powerful track record of fighting for affordable housing, quality public services, and human rights. And I want to tell you, just over the last few weeks, we knew how much the Conservatives were worrying about Kitchener Centre, because boy, did they go after Debbie in the legislature. So we know they're worried. Voters are excited to keep Kitchener Centre orange, but our opponents are giving it everything they've got. And while the Conservatives have parachuted in a candidate who lives 150 kilometers away, the Liberals and the Greens are throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks. They want to win that seat. And that's where you all come in. Because Election Day is Thursday. It's E-5. And it's not too late to join a canvass or set up a virtual phone bank, to sign up a team to come and get out the vote on Election Day. Your Ontario NDP MPPs, I really want to thank the caucus members that are here today. I know a few people are sick and couldn't come, but I really want to thank my colleagues. And they have been spending a lot of time in Kitchener. We are headed there again tomorrow because we know that only Debbie Chapman can win more for Kitchener. The official opposition NDP can stand up to Ford's corrupt Conservatives and win more for the people of Ontario. We have to do it. It's on us. Let's do it. Thank you. Merci.